Welcome. Welcome to another edition of Selling Life and Annuity. I'm Tim Luby. I'm the National Sales Director for Annuities, Core Marketing, and with me today is my good friend and associate, Steve Allison, our Regional Vice President and Annuity Specialist on the team. Our topic today is navigating the red flags of annuity suitability. All right, Steven. So, we work day in and day out on case design with agents and advisors trying to help them from A to Z. And one of the things that's really important that comes up an awful lot now is suitability. And some people hardly even know what that means exactly, but it's important. It's gotten increasingly important. So let's talk about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure does come up quite often.
Yeah, you can't do a good annuity sale anymore without it. It's definitely, it's relatively new in the industry, but it's entrenched now and it's here to stay. Yeah. So why does the industry have this annuity suitability requirement?
Yeah, it's a way for the carrier to protect themselves and then also for the client to be protected as well. Making sure that the product is right for the client. It's not putting them in a bad situation financially. Just protects both the client and the carrier.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That really kind of covers it to a good degree. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, this is probably necessary because there have been agents, not many of them, but a few over the years that haven't always done what's best for clients. Mm-hmm. Perhaps have sold things that aren't the best for them, that aren't perfectly suitable and appropriate for them or meet their needs. And that's kind of how we are where we are. So it's the process of having to identify or prove, if you will, mm-hmm. that the sale is suitable for the client. Yeah. So what are some of we talked about the red flags. What are some of the key things that are going to send us signals, be a problem or a hurdle to overcome from a suitability standpoint?
Yep. Part of it is the carriers want to make sure that the client has enough liquid assets. So they're going to take a look and see how much of a percentage that is compared to what they're going to try to invest in it. Also kind of wanting to make sure that they have enough liquid cash to cover any expenses over, say 6 months to 12 months. Many of these carriers, their requirements can be different from one carrier to another. So it's kind of important to know which company you're going to be working with.
Yeah, great point.
And just make sure you can meet that need no matter what carrier you use.
Right. Yeah, the liquidity thing is kind of funny because it wasn't that long ago that if someone had a couple $100,000, they wanted to put it all in an annuity, the agent and the carrier would often be very comfortable doing that. I love annuities, so a lot of times I might not think that would be the worst thing in the world. But the carriers and the industry and the individual all do need to have some liquidity. So if it's the only money that they have, no one wants all of their money in an annuity with a surrender charge, maybe a 10-year surrender charge. So that liquidity is really important. And you mentioned the fact that carriers look at it differently. Some are going to look at liquid assets, some are going to look at assets, but there's a lot of variation in terms of how the carriers look at suitability, right?
They sure do. I mean, even another one would be just surrender charges too. They worry about the client giving up too much money if it's already in another annuity with a different carrier. They don't want to see the client give up, sometimes more than 4 or 5%. Some are willing to accept annuity contracts from other carriers that are even up to 10%. Just kind of the flexibility of that. They don't want to see the client get hurt too much financially.
Right. So again, we're talking about it varies an awful lot by carrier. So even more important that on the front end, at the case design stage, we consider the suitability and the placement of that case. Because if they do have a surrender charge that's say north of 5% for some reason, but it's still there's still a good reason why the client should be doing the change, we have to pick a carrier that will see it that way.
Sure do.
Often we're probably talking about carriers that would have a bonus that offsets the surrender charge and some sort of certainty built into it that would help, reward or offset, whatever benefits they're kind of giving up in terms of where they're leaving.
Yep.
So surrender charges or the source of funds is definitely one of the big red flags that we often have to address. And then it's not with every case, but when it does come up, it always has to be addressed.
Yeah, it sure does. One of the other ones that we talk about is that they want to make sure that if maybe a client's goal may have changed, maybe they have an annuity right now that has an income rider on it, and that may end up having a bonus included for an income base, and maybe the client's goals have changed and they no longer want income and they want just strictly growth. That has to be noted in the application and it has to make sense and again for the client.
Right. And the same thing could be too the other way around. It could be that they set it up for growth and accumulation, and now their objectives have changed, and now income is a much higher priority for them.
Yep.
Maybe now they really do need to take income. And sometimes that squeeze every penny of income they can get out of an asset. Sometimes it's not. Maybe it's just to satisfy the required minimum distribution. So there's lots of different ways that we can look at what income is the objective, or the need for that client. So suitability overall, I guess what it really comes down to, you said early on, we talked about the fact that, yes, there's liquidity to be addressed, there's the source of funds and surrender charges and needs that are changing. But all in all, suitability really comes down to what? Just making sure that this sale is appropriate, that it does meet the client's needs. We right about that?
That's it. That's really the primary thing for suitability. It has to make sure that it makes sense for both the client and the carrier. Primarily the client, and most importantly, whether it's going to meet their growth needs or their income needs. It's not putting them in a bind financially where they don't have enough liquid cash, and not having the client to be forced to pull money out and have to pay a penalty. The carriers don't want any of that to happen to the client.
Right. And I know, we work with the agents, Gordon marketing agents all the time on the case design and the development of these sales and stuff as they come along. And we work with applications and sales and suitability every day. But for a lot of agents, this is a really new area. So for the benefit of those that are watching with us today, if they need the assistance of the Annuity Team at Gordon Marketing, me and Steven, how do they engage with us? What's your contact information, your email address and phone number?
Yeah, they can certainly give us a call, 317-776-6770. My extension is 140. My email, sallison@gordonmarketing.com.
That's right. And my email address is timl@gordonmarketing.com. And I'm an extension 213 at Gordon Marketing, at the number that he gave you. So with that, we're getting short on time. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you tuning in for another edition of Selling Life and Annuity. If you would, please do us a great favor and like and comment on the video below and subscribe so that you'll get every new edition of Selling Life and Annuity videos when they come out. But with that, we're kind of ready to wrap it up, running out of time. So thank you for joining us. And with that, happy selling.